Now recently, physicist Stephen Hawking made headlines when asked to explain the rise of Donald Trump to British ITV News. His response was kind of surprising, because he's usually the guy that has an answer to everything. The response was, I can't explain. He's a demagogue who seems to appeal to the lowest common denominator. Well, actually, to be honest, that seems like it's pretty on point. Now, there's something in that interview that the rest of the media actually missed. Now, while he's right about this, yes, he's a demagogue, there was more to this interview, and not all of it was about Trump. In fact, in that same interview, Hawking said that he didn't believe Trump was the greatest threat facing America, or even the world. So what is the greatest threat facing the world, according to Stephen Hawking? I mean, is it aliens? Is it rogue AI? Is it nuclear weapons? I mean, what is it? Well, nuclear weapons is actually one of them. But when it comes to long-term threats, the greatest threat, he says, is human-caused climate change. Quote, a more immediate danger is runaway climate change. A rise in ocean temperature would melt the ice caps and cause the release of large amounts of carbon dioxide from the ocean floor. Both effects could make our climate like that of Venus, with a temperature of 250 degrees. That's pretty hot. You can't just turn on your AC, because if it's 250 degrees outside, your AC, your house, and you have melted. Kind of a big deal. Now that's, of course, the way worst impact that could happen with climate change. And that, of course, is an example of what would happen under the runaway greenhouse effect. And that's actually what took place on Venus. Now, something like that would actually take a long time to even set in. Now, the more immediate threat would be more severe weather, flooding in areas, severe droughts in others, ocean level rise, acidification, wars over land and resources, mass migration, and the list goes on and on. And those are things that we're starting to see now, and we'll start to see more in the future. I mean, Syria, part of that civil war is linked to climate change. And I know it sounds crazy to say that, but when you have food shortages, when you have shortages of water, people start to get angry. People start to rise up against the governments. People tend to go to war with each other. It gets bad. It gets bad quick. So it is something to really think about. It's not crazy to say that part of what contributed to the civil war in Syria is climate change. Now, he also says, quote, there's a realization that we are changing our climate for the worse, that would have catastrophic effects. Although the threat is not as dire as that of nuclear weapons right now, in the long term, we are looking at a serious threat. So now that we get his context, his comments in context, right, of what he thinks in this interview, I wonder how the media covered this interview. Well, of course, they pointed out the Trump part and ignored climate change. Here's the sample. Stephen Hawking, Trump is a demagogue, from CNN. NBC, Stephen Hawking, Donald Trump appeals to lowest common denominator. ABC News, physicist Stephen Hawking, baffled by Donald Trump's popularity, calls him demagogue. And the Daily Beast, even Stephen Hawking can't explain Donald Trump. Talk about missing the mark, man. Especially for clicks. Yes, it's true, Donald Trump is a demagogue. Also, climate change will probably destroy our civilization, but you know what? That does not get the traffic. That is not as sexy as calling Donald Trump a demagogue. Okay, fair enough. Here's the thing that kind of bothers me. Our media does not take climate change seriously. Because sadly, a lot of the media, and all you have to do is turn on cable news for a few minutes and watch some of the commercials. I mean, what do you see when you do that? Ads for natural gas. Ads for energy companies telling you how awesome and safe fossil fuels are. They're fantastic. Even on supposedly liberal MSNBC, which is of course not liberal anymore, but back when they were even trying to pretend to be liberal with their whole lean forward slogan, they were still playing fracking ads. Pro-hydraulic fracturing. Oh, natural gas is totally safe and clean. Seriously? Those are the kinds of commercials that you would see when you turn on cable news. You think they're going to care about climate change? Come on, man. They pay for this advertising. And in so doing, well, you don't want to piss off your advertiser, right? So, shh, don't mention climate change. Don't mention it at all. Just shut up, report on the more sexy story, which is Stephen Hawking calling Trump a demagogue, and ignore the more important statements. And that's the problem with our media today, is that they don't focus on what's important, but instead focus on Donald Trump, when you should be talking about the possible end of our civilization due to climate change. Get your priorities straight, media. Start reporting the real news instead of bullshit.